and Kings Highway. And I had to pull my vehicle over because I started crying. The news interrupted ABC. Dan was on the air, I'm almost positive. And I was driving. I don't remember which way. I was going to a deli to get a tongue sandwich or something. I mean, that's how exact I remember. And I pulled my car over, and I started crying. I started shaking and crying. I mean, yeah, my voice is starting to go right now when I think about that. And I went right home. And I remember listening to the station. Dan did not say too much. All commercials were pulled. And very quiet, calm music. When I got in, and the edict was given to me too, nothing. Just be yourself. Let people know Cousin Brucie's there, so their friend is on the radio, which is very important now. Very important. Let them know that I am sitting here. If I don't say anything, it doesn't matter. As long as they know I'm here. And just play calm, relaxing music and nothing. Period. And then we brought some news. And then Chuck Leonard did the same. And then about midnight, I think it went back to so-called normalcy. Yeah. Interesting. Where were you that day?
I was in 8th grade, and we had a kid who was a real troublemaker, who was always being sent down to the principal's office. And he was sent down to the principal's office that day, and he came back to the principal. Apparently, pandemonium took place in the school, and everything broke loose. And the kid who had been sent down to the principal's office comes back to our social studies class, it was social studies, and whispers something in the ear of the social studies teacher. In retrospect, obviously what he said was that this terrible tragedy had just happened. The teacher didn't believe him because the guy was always inventing stories. So he's like, oh, come on, forget it.
The sky is falling. The sky is falling.
You're in the wolf.
And then we found out, or the man who cried wolf. And then we found out that it was true. Nothing was said in school, but there was kind of a hush over the school.
How did it affect you as a person? I mean, you were 8 years old, obviously, at the time. So how did it affect? Did you understand?
Well, I was 8th grade, so I was 13, 14 years old, 22 years old in the 8th grade. No, I was 13 or 14. And I don't know how it affected me. Cumulatively, I think we were all affected by events of those years. Between that and then Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King and then Watergate and the things that happened in succession. So I don't know if I could single one thing out and say that affected me. But as you said earlier, a number of things happened which kind of opened my eyes politically and socially. And all these things cumulatively have kind of had an impact on it. I believe how we are as a society. I don't think the world will ever be the same.
No,
because of what happened. And because, I'll tell you something else, not just radio, but television, the fact that we saw Lee Harvey Oswald being shot by Jack Ruby live on television. Live on television. I mean, that's astounding. That had never happened before.
And Bobby Kennedy, too. You remember that? I'll never forget that. We saw that in Rosie Greer. Remember? I mean, we've been privy to things that are so horrifying that have to change us psychologically and emotionally for the rest of our lives. Isn't that amazing? Even though these are not direct personal family members, because we are there between radio and television, it's a whole different world.
But I'll tell you something. They are family members, just like Cousin Brucie is a member of the family. John Kennedy was a friend of the family, or Robert Kennedy. People who we take into our hearts are members of our family, the family of man, and so they are members of the family,
right?
Just as you are, and hopefully I am if you're on the radio every day. Well, I didn't expect things to get into this area, but it's kind of neat to sit here and talk to you about all this, because you've been so much a part of our lives, and you were there on the radio when so much of this has happened. To know what was going through your mind and how you presented it to the rest of the country is kind of interesting.
It thrills me that last phone call and calls from guys in Vietnam or Korea that are in foxholes listening to me. It thrills me, and I never get tired of hearing these stories about, hey, you got me through this, Cousin Brucie, thank you. That's what it's all about. You can't pay anybody. You know, there's not enough money in the world to pay, well, I feel me, right? But that phone call is worth more than anybody can ever offer me.
We'll be back with Cousin Brucie on WNBC.
66.
All right, let's hear your $75,000 efficiency study.
I do have one more question.
Fine.
When do you eat your vegetables?
Whenever. I'm a busy man.
You do know vegetables are an important part of a balanced diet.
Yes, the report.
And that V8 juice is a blend of vegetables?
Good. Now,
one delicious glass of V8 juice provides a serving of vegetables?
Forget the V8. Get to the report.
You are a busy man. You don't eat your vegetables, so I recommend you drink V8 juice.
What in the world possessed me to hire you?
Because I'm your brother and Mom said you had to.
All right.
Drink V8. Keep your diet straight.
Food for the show provided by the Carnegie Delicatessen. Not only the offered diversity in the Carnegie. Hey, Leo. Oh, listen, let me ask you. I'll talk about Leo Steiner, yeah.
Oh, I've been away for a couple of days. I just found this out. I feel so badly. Now, Leo is a wonderful... Leo Steiner, who was the proprietor of the Carnegie Deli, is loved by people in our business.
He loved show business. He loved comedians, and he loved anything to do with show business.
The most giving human being. You know, I'm very involved with Variety, the children's charity. He helped us so much, and he helped a lot of charities. But anytime you needed Leo for anything,
He was
Leo
there.
Steiner was there. I feel terrible.
Every
about
time I've had an opening night, anytime we've had, remember our first show?
that. Yeah, I was here
And,
that night.
you were here that night.
Sure.
Leo came up with a whole platter of
Leo.
stuff. I don't know if you hear when Leo showed up like at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning that night.
No, I wasn't here that night.
I just want to wish you have a good time. and that was it, and he left. And he was a very beloved man.
I had him on the telethon last year I was talking about, the Variety Telethon, and his wife came over. I didn't like the way he looked, and evidently he was operated on. He had some sort of operation, which I didn't ask. It was not my business. And he didn't look well. And his wife said, I'm a little worried about him. I want to get him home. That was my first indication. Then I
This
saw
was
him
when?
recently.
When was this?
About a year ago.
I didn't even know he had been ill.
Yeah, and then I saw him. We did a thing for Leukemia Society, did a show, and he was one of the speakers. And his wife once again said he's not well. And then I was in the restaurant about 2 months ago having one of these 8-foot corned beef sandwiches of his that I can just say people order half or take somebody with you. They're impossible. And he came over to the table as he always does, you know. It wasn't Leo, it wasn't Leo. Oh, I feel terrible for him. Well, I hope that his family and all of his friends, I hope that we just have to think rainbows. You just have to go on.
I'll tell you something. His legacy will live on by the many people whose lives he touched, and by those wonderful sandwiches, which will always hopefully exist.
Good man. Nice man.
It's 5:40 at WNBC, and here's Jane Gennaro with the WNBC Traffic and Transit Network report.
Thanks, Alan, and here's what's happening at 5:40. Well, southbound on the Van Wyck south of Kew Gardens, there's a disabled vehicle in the right lane. Frank from Flushing was on the Van Wyck. He said it's going to be backed up from the LIE to the Kew Gardens interchange. And northbound on the Deegan, it's going to be slow from Yankee Stadium to the bridge. The northbound West Side Highway is backed up from the 130s to the bridge. Northbound on the FDR between 96 and 116th Street, slow because of a disabled vehicle in the left lane. And northbound on the BQE off the Gowanus at Atlantic Avenue, in the right lane, a disabled vehicle there. Also, westbound Cross Bronx is moving slowly between the Deegan and the George Washington Bridge. I'll have more traffic and transit in 15 minutes on 66 WNBC.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Brucie's going to play whenever anything important happened. It was Dan Ingram who was on the WNBC. That's why I tell you, afternoon drive, man. That's the thing to do. Since I've been here, nothing, right? Oh, yeah, the Getz verdict came in. I think that was... Barry Farber was here. Another radio person, Barry Farber was here the minute the Getz verdict came in. This was...
He's a very bright guy, let me tell you.
We don't agree with him on much.
Oh, neither. I was going to say that. I mean, politically, you and I are probably on the two rooms removed. But he is terrific. I just did his show, and I know what I like about Barry? He is extremely opinionated, extremely bright, but he listens to you.
And he's a real mensch, you know. He's a very loving guy. He gives you a big hug. Every time I see him, he gives you a big hug.
Terrific. I really like Barry.
Let me tell you, the 66 WNBC wants to send you on a winter ski getaway in Jackson Hole. Not Wyoming, but the hamburger joint on 86 and 7. Tanner said, that's something Cousin Brucie would say, you know.
Yeah, but I'd mean it.
Tanner, send a postcard with your name, address, and daytime phone number to Winter Ski Getaway, Post Office Box, WNBC. It's amazing how we were able to get a box with our own colors on it. New York, 10185. Starting January 25th, we'll draw a car today for 6 days, and if we choose you, you'll win a trip for 2 to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. You'll fly a round trip on American Airlines and spend 7 nights, double occupancy, at the Spring Creek Ranch in Teton Village. Is it Teton Village? Teton Village? Teton Village. Plus you receive 5 days of lift passes and 5 half days of ski lessons